I'm 28 and dating an older woman, but she cheated on me. Julianna walked into my life like a hurricane in a silk dress. At 45, she was everything I wasn't confident, established, and radiating a sophisticated energy that made my 28-year-old self feel both intimidated and utterly captivated. She was an architect, her office a sleek, modern space filled with models of impossible buildings and the scent of expensive coffee. I was a software engineer, comfortable in my hoodies and coding late into the night. We met at an art gallery opening, a clash of worlds that somehow sparked. The age difference was the elephant in the room, of course. My friends raised eyebrows. My mom, bless her heart, tried to hide her concern behind forced enthusiasm. But when I was with Julianna, none of that mattered. She saw something in me, a potential I hadn't even recognized myself. She challenged me, pushed me outside my comfort zone, and made me feel like the most interesting person in the world. Our relationship moved quickly. Within months, I was practically living at her apartment, a penthouse overlooking the city. The sex was incredible, the conversation stimulating, the life exhilarating. Julianna had this way of making even mundane activities feel like an adventure. We traveled to exotic locations, dined at Michelin-starred restaurants, and attended exclusive parties where I felt simultaneously out of place and completely adored. But beneath the surface, cracks were starting to appear. Julianna was fiercely independent, which I initially admired. But that independence often manifested as secrecy. She'd take calls in another room, her voice hushed and guarded. She'd brush off questions about her past with vague answers, claiming she preferred to focus on the present. She worked long hours, often traveling for business, and her schedule was notoriously unpredictable. I tried to ignore the nagging feeling in my gut. I told myself I was being insecure, that I needed to trust her. After all, a woman like Julianna could have anyone she wanted. Why would she choose me if she wasn't truly invested? The first real red flag came in the form of a text message. Julianna was in the shower, and her phone lit up on the nightstand. I told myself not to look, but the temptation was too strong. The message was from an unknown number. Thinking of last night. Can't wait to see you again. My heart hammered against my ribs. I quickly deleted the message, trying to convince myself it was a mistake, a wrong number. But the seed of doubt had been planted. I started paying closer attention to Julianna's behavior. Her business trips seemed more frequent and longer. She became more distant, less affectionate. She started wearing a new perfume, one that I hadn't bought her. One evening, while Julianna was supposedly at a conference in Boston, I saw her car parked outside a restaurant downtown. I told myself it couldn't be her, that I was being paranoid. But the nagging feeling persisted. I drove past the restaurant again, and there she was, sitting at a table with a man. I couldn't see his face, but I recognized the way she was laughing, the way she leaned in close as she spoke. It was the same way she used to look at me. I went home that night, numb with disbelief. I wanted to confront her, but I was afraid of what she might say, afraid of losing her. I spent the next few days in a state of anxious limbo, replaying the scene in my head, searching for any rational explanation. I confided in David, my best friend since childhood. He listened patiently as I poured out my suspicions, my fears, and my insecurities. "Ethan, man, I don't want to see you get hurt," he said, his voice serious, "but you need to find out the truth. If she's cheating on you, you deserve to know." His words gave me the courage I needed. I decided to do some digging. I knew it was wrong, a violation of her privacy, but I felt like I had no other choice. I started by checking her phone bill online. I found a series of calls and texts to the same unknown number from the night she was supposedly in Boston. The calls were frequent and often late at night. The next piece of evidence came unexpectedly. I was doing laundry and found a receipt in Julianna's purse. It was from a hotel, the same hotel where she was supposedly attending the conference in Boston. The room was booked under her name. That was it. The evidence was overwhelming. I couldn't deny it any longer. I decided to confront her when she got back from her latest business trip to Chicago. I waited for her at the apartment, my heart pounding in my chest. When she walked in, she looked tired but beautiful, her eyes sparkling. "Hey," she said, smiling, "missed me." "We need to talk," I said, my voice trembling. She frowned. "What's wrong?" I took a deep breath and pulled out the hotel receipt and the phone bill. "Explain this." Julianna's face paled. She stammered, trying to deny it, but the words wouldn't come. Finally, she sighed and looked away. "Okay, fine," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "It happened. It happened," I repeated, incredulous. "That's all you have to say, it happened." "It's not that simple, Ethan," she said, her eyes pleading. "You wouldn't understand." "Then explain it to me," I yelled, my voice cracking. Tell me why you betrayed me, tell me why you lied. She hesitated, then began to speak, her voice low and unsteady. She told me about Mark, her business partner. They had been friends for years, and their relationship had always been complicated. She said that they had been growing closer lately, that she felt lonely and vulnerable, that Mark understood her in a way that I didn't. It was a mistake, she said, tears streaming down her face. I swear it didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything. I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. You slept with another man while you were telling me you loved me. How can you say it didn't mean anything? Details of the affair poured out of her, each word a fresh wound. She and Mark had been having an affair for months, meeting in hotel rooms during business trips. She claimed it was a temporary lapse in judgment, a moment of weakness. She swore she wanted to end it, that she wanted to be with me. I didn't believe her. I'm done, I said, my voice flat. I can't do this anymore. Julianna started to cry, begging me to forgive her, to give her another chance. But I was unmoved. The trust was broken, the love shattered. I packed my things and left her apartment that night. I felt like a part of me had died. The next few weeks were a blur of pain and confusion. I moved back into my old apartment, surrounded by familiar but comforting surroundings. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't stop thinking about Julianna and Mark. David was my rock during that time. He listened to me rant and cry, offered me advice, and forced me to get out of the house. He reminded me that I was still young, that I had my whole life ahead of me. Sarah, my coworker, also became a source of support. She had always been friendly, but after the breakup, she went out of her way to check on me. We started having lunch together, and soon we were spending hours talking about everything and nothing. I realized that Sarah was more than just a friend. She was kind, intelligent, and funny. She understood me in a way that Julianna never had. She didn't try to change me or impress me. She accepted me for who I was. One evening, after a particularly long and difficult day at work, Sarah invited me over to her apartment for dinner. We ordered takeout and talked for hours. As the night drew to a close, I found myself drawn to her. I leaned in and kissed her. The kiss was gentle and hesitant at first, but it quickly deepened. It felt good, right? It was a connection based on honesty and mutual respect. I didn't know what the future held for me and Sarah. I was still hurting from the breakup with Julianna, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for another relationship. But I knew that I was attracted to Sarah and that I valued her friendship. A few weeks later, I received a call from Julianna. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Ethan, I need to talk to you, she said, her voice trembling. What do you want, Julianna? I asked, my voice cold. I made a mistake, she said, a big one. I'm so sorry for hurting you. Sorry isn't enough, I said. I know, she said. But there's something you need to know. Mark, he wasn't just a friend. We had a thing a long time ago, before you. It never really ended. It was always there, lurking beneath the surface. And when things got tough, we just fell back into it. It's a pattern with me. I self-sabotage. She went on to explain that she had always been afraid of commitment, that she pushed people away when they got too close. She said that she was seeing a therapist and trying to understand her issues. I listened in silence, my mind racing. I realized that Julianna was a deeply flawed person, that her insecurities and unresolved issues had ultimately destroyed our relationship. As she spoke, I realized I pitied her. She was trapped in a cycle of self-destruction, and I was just collateral damage. I thanked her for her honesty and told her that I needed to move on. I wished her well and hung up the phone. I knew that I would never fully understand Julianna's motives, but I had come to accept that some questions simply don't have answers. I had learned a painful lesson about trust in relationships. I had emerged from the experience scarred but stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. I'm not sure where life will lead me, but I'm open to the possibilities. I'm focused on my career, my friendships, and my own personal growth. And who knows, maybe someday I'll find someone who loves me for who I am, without any secrets or hidden agendas. Maybe that someone is Sarah. Maybe it isn't. The other day I was walking down the street and I saw Julianna across the way. She looked older somehow, her shoulders slumped, a shadow in her eyes. She didn't see me. I watched her for a moment, a wave of sadness washing over me. Then I turned and walked away, heading towards my future.